One of the 6 goals of the Old Wives Lake Source Water Protection Plan is that water use is efficient and fair and considers all stakeholders and their needs, including domestic, agricultural, industrial, and future economic development. A number of industries are found within the Old Wives Lake watershed. Industries provide economic strength, but their environmental footprints can vary greatly. Balancing the needs of these successful industries, the needs of the communities, and the need to maintain water quantity and quality is always a challenge. The energy and mining sector is well represented in the Old Wives Lake watershed. North of Hodgeville, the Algonquin Power Company's 10-turbine wind farm generates what's considered clean power. Even clean power can have an ecological footprint on air movement and wildlife movement. The oil and gas industry is active in pockets around the watershed. Large quantities of surface water are used during drilling. Drilling also has the potential to pass through water-bearing formations below ground, which can impact groundwater. Increased oil and gas traffic can impact wildlife movement in the watershed. Saskatchewan Mining and Minerals Incorporated is a privately owned sodium sulfate mine situated on the shores of Chaplin Lake. Water is diverted from the Wood River, stored in Chaplin Lake, and then used in the mine reservoirs. Sodium sulfate is used in products such as laundry detergents, paper, glass, and livestock minerals. Agriculture is without a doubt the leading economic driver in the Old Wives Lake watershed. Agriculture's impact on the watershed is as diverse as the sector itself. With over 2.4 million acres of cropland and 1.4 million acres of prairie and perennial forage, both grain and cattle farming are important. Irrigation is the largest overall user of water in the watershed. The potential for future irrigation development has been limited because of widespread incompatible soils and highly mineralized surface water. Agriculture producers in the watershed face a host of challenges to be successful. Many of those challenges have impacts on the watershed as a whole. A fast spring melt or high rainfall event leads to runoff through cropland into creeks and wetlands. Eroded soil and nutrients being carried in the water can lead to poor water quality downstream and unfavorable field conditions. Intensive livestock operations such as feedlots and pig barns require consistent water supply for the animals and a land base to safely utilize manure on. The number of cattle per ranch has grown in the watershed. Wintering large numbers of livestock in one location requires a considerable quantity of water and produces a substantial amount of manure. The watershed is historically quite dry. Soil erosion by wind can occur very quickly. Cropland inputs have increased as producers respond to the global demand for more production. High rates of fertilizers and more pesticide applications are not uncommon. Producers require enough water for weed control and watering livestock. Sufficient reserves to buffer the effects of drought events do not exist. Across the watershed, many agricultural producers have implemented practices to address environmental challenges. Beneficial management practices, or BMPs, provide strong environmental benefits but can have varying degrees of benefit to producer profitability. The Old Wives Watershed Association's Agro-Environmental Group Plan is made possible by the Ministry of Agriculture. The AEGP offers qualified assistance in identifying beneficial practices with producers.
Many producers are choosing to adopt beneficial management practices in the watershed. When soils are marginal, rocky, or saline, producers may choose to seed grass, alfalfa, or a mix of both. Riparian areas are at their healthiest when allowed to grow naturally. We work with producers to develop remote watering sites and pipelines, so livestock aren't drinking directly from the water source. Producers are also improving water gullies and waterways through fields. They reshape them, reseed them, and help reduce erosion. This helps keep the water clean. Old wells in the watershed are a problem. We are routinely working with producers to properly decommission them. When wells are properly sealed, it helps protect groundwater from contamination. Beneficial management practices can become standard practice. For example, GPS. GPS is beneficial to both the environment and the producer profitability. It reduces overlap, which means less chemical affecting runoff. and the producer saves money by using less product. Producers care about wildlife, soil, and water, and this is a story we need to tell.
To find out more about the Old Wives Lake Watershed, visit the Old Wives Lake Watershed Association website, www.oldwiveswatershed.com.